England internationals grabbing all the headlines. Shooting star, sharp shooter, Foden like genius, Foden comes of age. City have feel-good factor. This is what Pep Guardiola had to say about his star attacker. He's the best player in the Premier League right now for the amount of things he does. Unbelievable. He's right now the best so far. He was always a talented player, but now he is more mature and understands more the game, especially defensively. He can play middle, right, make moments and cut inside, play in the left, scoring from the left. Mario, what do you think? Best player in the Premier League?
I think he's definitely up there. I think he's very talented. The key thing for a young boy to win that much so early on and keeping his cool. I think when people talk about Foden, they also have to understand that it took him a long time to be like one of the first picks in the starting 11. And you could see in his face, you know, when you're young and the coach doesn't make you play straight away, sometimes you get annoyed. And you could see it sometimes. He was also like, but he stayed calm. Normally when you're that young, I always used to say it when I don't want to compare him to Rooney, but Rooney had the sensibility of having players around you, but then you are always a step ahead of any defender that's playing against you. So when he thinks he's going to have you short, he goes long. When he thinks, oh, he's going to go long, he comes in the pocket and picks up the ball. So between the line is what football is now about. And I think Foden is a perfect example of picking up the ball between the lines because he can really move away from where pressure is, find the space where the space is to turn and then make the action.
I think it's fair to say a common factor in football, wherever you are in the world, whatever club you support, there's that extra special bond you have with players that have come through your youth system, of course, Foden has done as City, Nathan.
Yeah, it certainly is the case. And obviously from the United side of things, seeing Rashford score, I'm sure their fans were delighted with that. But Foden, you know, he's the star of Man City. People knew about him from when he was in the academy from a young age, knowing he was this youngster who's this big prodigy who supports the football club, who apparently will get the chance. But for those first few years, you know, who's standing in his way? David Silva. You know, he wasn't too bad a player, was he? So I think for him to get the opportunity from very young, for him to have played the amount of games that he's played through these years, and to almost face disappointment towards the end of last season because he wasn't one of the starters in probably in the club's most sort of successful season ever. But he's come in this year with the availability thing that he had over Kevin De Bruyne, who was unavailable, played more central, has gotten into a run of games, and as the stat showed, he's played 40 games already this year. That's somebody that's in a flow, 18 goals, 10 assists in that time. This is a guy that really understands his role, he's enjoying his football, and as Pep said, he can play off the left, play off the right, play centrally. But he's trusted by Pep Guardiola because he can defend as well. So it's great to see from a Man City perspective, a youngster coming through and being that good. And he plays like a senior player, even though he's only 23 years of age. He's a joy to watch when he's sort of feeling himself like this. He's playing a different sport to so many other people on that field.
Meanwhile, Manchester United still licking their wounds, obviously, after that defeat. Let's just remind you what Ten Hag had to say after the game. It's not that big a gap. And when we have everyone on board, we can be competitive. I think also we showed in the cup final against them when it was really close, but City is in the moment the best team in the world. Don't forget this. We were really close to winning or at least getting a point here. Robert, what do you make? When we've got everyone on board, we can be competitive.
No, I'm not having it really. Manchester City are miles better than Manchester United. They've got a better manager. They play a better style of football. They've got more creativity in the attacking areas. They're better defensively. They know what they're doing. Whenever I watch Manchester United, I'm not quite sure what you're going to get from Manchester United. There's a bit more solidity in some of the ways they play, but the way they set up yesterday and the way they were destroyed by Manchester City, and I know they went 1-0 up in the first half, you know, with Rashford's goal, but Man City, every time they went forward, they looked as though they were going to score. It was only by a little bit of luck and good goalkeeping and maybe one or two blocks. You can't win football games playing like that week in, week out. There's a massive gulf between Man City and Manchester United.
How things have changed, Mario. Manchester United from when you were playing and coming up through the Premier League to that side now.
Yeah, a lot of things because, you know, like the way, you know, you guys already talked about, but the biggest thing now is Man United was never a team that would sit back that long and wait for a moment. They were waiting for a mistake from City. And you play Rashford and Garnacho up front and then hoping that you can catch them on the break. Okay, by the speed, okay, some of the things, the counterattacks were really good. I mean, Rashford first goal, Garnacho got through, you know, the second half. You know, Rashford has also a moment when he comes through. So you can play that game, but you cannot play it that long because the energy level started to drop. And the first half, you could see they were sitting back, waiting for something to happen and hit them on the break. That didn't come across. They didn't see that because City, what City does well, they hold the ball in the team that long that it frustrates you and also makes you commit forward because you get annoyed. Because we cannot stay calm that long. How long are you going to wait? So many minutes before you can touch the ball? It's too long for a footballer. That's why we're not playing football. And then City kept on going, pulling them out. Okay, you score the first goal. Then they're going to commit and try to make an equalizer. And then what happened for me, the key thing was you're waiting for the space behind Manchester City. But City never makes a team that cannot cope with 40 yards behind them. And I can guarantee you Ten Hag wanted to play that, but Ten Hag his background, Ajax's background is playing like City, eh? So it must hurt him playing against a City team while he wants to play like City.
Nedum, imagine telling a little young Nedum growing up as a Manchester City fan that this would now be the norm these days.
Hey, listen, Dan, late 90s, there were no derbies because City were in the Football League. So it is strange to see this be the way forward. But, you know, this is United. They've had their issues. For many, many years now. And it is crazy to see, even looking at those statistics, Man United with 26% possession and 11 versus 11. 3 shots, 1 on target. Like, for me, the way that game went, obviously the result could have been whatever it was. But there was a team that was in control of possession, in control of the game. Another team that was just taking part as such. And it's strange to see them play in that manner for a side that's been so dominant for as long as they have been. And even though that team isn't Ten Hag's first choice by any means, the fact is I still would have expected them to do more because there'll be teams who go to the Etihad with less talented players than United will, and they'll have more possession, they'll have more shots, they'll have more of a say in terms of how the game goes. But instead, it's almost like they relinquished all of that. And they basically just got taken for a ride. And as the guys were saying, like when you drop off that much and you're not in any control whatsoever, you will get tired. You'll start to make decisions in the wrong manner as the game progresses. It's almost like, for me, the analogy was like, if in theory you wanted to get fit or whatever, it's very different to when you're setting the pace as opposed to somebody saying to you, right, you're coming with me, we're going to go for a run. You'll get more tired when you don't have any control over anything that's going on. And I think that's what was showing for United in the game yesterday. And I'm sure those players, as they walked off the pitch, they wouldn't have thought, oh, we nearly got something. I think they'll be hugely disappointed because any talent that they do have, at no point was it maximised in a game where it could have been yesterday. And I'm sure there's going to be a huge level of disappointment and sort of looking in the mirror thinking, well, where are we as a football team and as a club right now? Yeah,
and I think this when we have everyone on board, we can be competitive. What is that? That's a nothing statement.
It's a nothing statement, but a nothing statement that Ten Hag just seems to believe in. And this is not the first time we've heard something similar from Ten Hag. There's nothing new this week. He said similar after Forest. I mean, and that for me is the frustrating thing because
he's gone, isn't he? He's a dead man walking. Like
he's contradicted himself because one minute he's saying the gap's not too big. But by playing the style of football he played, he's admitting that we are nowhere near Manchester City. We can't contest a midfield battle. We're not going to have any of the ball, so we are miles away. So he's contradicting himself.
Who would you bring in, Robbo? Who can...
At the moment.
Like, there's so many problems within this club, and Chelsea have proven you just can't throw money at things over and over again and try and get a result.
Of course, I'm not a great fan of him, but Thomas Tuchel will be up for every job going. Now he's left behind after having a poor time. But remember, he won the Champions League with Chelsea, so people will still see him as a good manager.
It's a speculation, it's talk, isn't it? And rumours that will continue, I imagine, right up until the summer. Just a reminder, more reaction to what happened with City's win over Manchester United, plus a lot about the rest of the world of football on the latest edition of the Gab and Jules podcast.